Anyway, as I was saying, what makes Captain America, I think, awesome too, and that nobody really honestly realizes unless you're like, say, a hardcore Marvel fan and whatnot, but Captain America has actually trained a few people in the Marvel Universe in hand-to-hand combat. He's trained Hawkeye. I think he helped train Mockingbird. And this may surprise a lot of people, but he trained Captain America, yes, Captain America trained himself. No, he trained Bucky Barnes, who's the second Captain America, aka Winter Soldier. He actually trained Tony Stark. Yes, he trained Iron Man in hand-to-hand combat. I mean, Captain America has trained quite a few people in hand-to-hand combat and whatnot. So, yeah. Captain America is a pretty prominent character, and plus, Captain America, he fights for the common man. During the Civil War, when he was on the anti-registration side, somebody asked him, he goes, well, Captain America, Cap, why are you fighting the government? And he goes, I don't stand for the government. He goes, I fight for the people. He goes, I stand for equality, freedom of oppression, and justice. He has a very strong sense of justice, and plus, like Batman, he's got a near indomitable will. When the Cosmic Cube was fully activated, he could have turned back time and fixed all of his mistakes. He could have prevented the death of Bucky completely, all that stuff. He could have messed with the time stream. And yet, despite the fact that Steve Rogers wanted to do that, he thought long and hard for one moment, and then he nodded his head, and you think he's going to activate the Cosmic Cube. Instead, he takes his shield and he smashes the cube in half. Because he knows that even though he wants to, as badly as he wants to fix those mistakes, the past is the past. And he knows that by altering time itself, that it will bring about great consequences and, shall we say, like disembowel the universe. So he lives with that, and he left with that decision. Also, he's basically the leader of, he's basically now, in the current comics, he's Captain Stephen Rogers, the super soldier. And he's in charge of, he's in charge of all the metahuman activity in the Marvel Universe. Which I think is great, because, and you know what, Captain America, he's got a photographic memory, he's got great agility, he's, at the peak of human perfection, he's got near photographic memory, he's memorized all the great battle tactics of like Sun Tzu, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, all the great conquerors, he's learned their battle tactics. On top of that, what makes Cap a great leader is that he's very inspiring, very inspirational. But what's great is that he's able to adapt and tactically change, depending on the battle situation, he can actually adapt and tactically change, like what's going on around him. And what's great is that, Cap is able to, he's very tactically aware. For example, during World War II, this U.S. soldier who, hated Nazis, he went to go shoot this little kid who was trying to, pick up this grenade because he didn't know what it was. And, this, soldier basically was about ready to shoot this kid, and the minute he shot him, Cap kind of seeing into this town, the first thing he saw was this tower. And he tactically, and he knew that tower was probably going to be used as a sniper's nest. And what's interesting is that when this guy shot at the little kid, Cap actually deflected some of the Thompson fire up into that sniper nest and actually killed a Nazi sniper. Now, whether that's actually true or not, that's just something that I had supposedly heard. Either that or actually, to be honest, I don't think that was actually in the comic. I'm not going to sit there and BS y'all to try to get you to buy Captain America comics. I think just hearing some of his exploits are great on his own. But still, that's just a great example. Cap is very tactically aware. He knows what's going on around him. he's taken on like 10 or 15 guys at once and beat them all. And he actually fought like close to 8 men with both his hands and feet simultaneously like bound. I mean, Cap has done so many different feats and impressive things. I mean, he's one of the few people in the Marvel Universe that can actually lift up Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. He's deemed worthy enough. And on top of that, you know, Captain America, I think he actually once, if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually fought alongside, I think he actually was one of the few people to actually take on and, you know, go more than like 1 or 2 minutes against, you know, the Titan Thanos. Now, that's actually very far-fetched, but still, I'm just saying, you know, Cap, you know, and in Ultimate Alliance 2, Nick Fury said it best. Cap is the perfect blend of brains and brawn. You know, he's not just, you know, a very strong and very agile person. No, he's very intelligent. And he's got near photographic memory. He knows people's battle tactics. Every once in a while he'll get surprised, but he can more than stand his own against Iron Man. He can go toe to toe with the Hulk. He's actually shown to be able to at least stand a little bit against Thor. You know, Cap is an everyman hero in the Marvel Universe. And many people say that he is Marvel's version of Superman. And to tell you the truth, I'm somewhat inclined to agree. Because Steve Rogers has done things as Captain America that aren't even humanly possible. Even Batman would look at some of the stuff that Captain America does and just go, what the hell? But I think one of the great moments that I love, but there was a part where an actual, like, prejudiced white guy, you know, like Archie Bunker-esque type person, sitting there smoking a cigar, and he tells, you know, and, you know, Cap is like, we can't get through this, you know, line, and he basically tells me, you know, oh, let's out there, you know, we can use them as cannon fodder. And Cap actually stops in mid-stride, does a complete 180, and backhands this dude so hard that he actually knocks out 2 or 3 of this guy's teeth, and literally almost completely takes his jaw clean off. Busted his lip open, if I remember correctly. He hit him so hard they busted his lip, knocked out 2 or 3 of his teeth, and he might have shattered his jaw, either that or he sprained it. And then Cap grabbed the guy by the collar of his uniform, lifted him up with one arm, and he basically, to summarize it, he told the guy, you know, I better not ever hear you say that word again. He goes, I don't care if they're black, white, Asian, an extraterrestrial. I mean, you get the. I mean, Cap just goes off on this guy, and he goes, and he basically says, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, what race, credo they are. You know, these are Americans. You know, these are still human beings. This isn't back during, you know, the times of slavery. Those times are over. And he goes, to be honest, and he goes, if you want my honest opinion, soldier, he goes, I think it's disgusting, you know, the fact that African Americans are being, you know, literally brought down simply because of the fact that they live. You know, because... Anyway, as I was saying, I lost track of what I was saying anyway, because I was rambling on towards the end. But basically, to put in plain English, Cap believes in equality. You know, like, after World War II and he got thawed out, a lot of people... Basically, Cap believes in equality. I know I already said that. But when the UN was having a meeting, you know, Cap wanted to come as a special guest, and they were a little bit leery, but, you know, it's Captain America. You can't say no to him. The man's an icon. And people were nervous. And Cap ended up giving this great inspirational speech about how, you know, Germany shouldn't be shadowed by, you know, the sins of their past, that it was not their ancestors' fault. And all the retired Nazis who actually came out and lived lives who had to live with the shame, Cap basically turned to them, and this was a great, to me, character-defining moment he goes, "Well, I don't agree with the fact that you men followed Hitler. I do not blame any of you." He goes, you men basically mended your evil ways. You were doing it to serve your country, and serve it with pride." He goes, "But the past is the past." And right then and there, Cap actually shook hands with all the former Nazis that actually were still alive, that tried to mend their ways and help the communities and whatnot. And did that actually exist in the comics? I'm sure it does. If it doesn't, then it's something that needs to be put in the comics, in like a flashback or something. Because when I think of Captain America, I don't think of a guy that just represents America. I think of a guy that stands for everything that is good. You know, peace, freedom of oppression, equality. These are things that make Captain America not only admired by people that are American, but people that aren't even American at all. They actually like Captain America. They think, you know, the concept of Captain America himself is great. And it's kind of these old world, like outdated values that Steve Rogers has that make me like the character. You know, the fact that he comes from a background of, shall we say, humility. And I'm hoping that in First Avenger and maybe even the Avengers itself, that we kind of get to see Chris Evans kind of tap into that, you know, part of Steve Rogers' personality. Because that's the thing about Steve Rogers that I love the most. It's not just the fact that, oh, you know, Steve Rogers, you know, he's Captain America, he's the super soldier, you know, he, you know, da-da-da-da, and this and that. No, I like Captain America, and what makes Captain America also a great hero, period, is the fact that, like Superman, he's just a very great and inspiring person to be around. And he's a person who, no matter who you are, you could be the most evil, vile person, but if you're trying to mend your ways, you know, Cap will be there, you know, to try and, you know, be supportive if you make all the right decisions. So, that's, at least in my opinion, what makes Captain America a great hero, is that he's got all the qualities of a true real-life hero. Or at least he's got the virtues and the credentials and the pedigree to make him, you know, as good a character as he is in the Marvel Universe. And I think, you know, Bucky Barnes, even though he struggles with that, he wants to obtain this, he wants to follow the same code of ethics and morals and values that, you know, Steve had you know, lived by. And he wants to try to live by that. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm rambling on about absolutely nothing, but hopefully you guys at least took something out of those rambles. Anyway, look forward to my DC Lesser Known But Awesome Hero. I think you guys are going to like him because he's a very obscured character, and he's one of my personal favorites. So, stay tuned.